Europe's tallest active volcano has been erupting for over a week, and it just shut down one of Italy's busiest airports during the single biggest travel week of the Italian summer. Mount Etna, towering over Sicily at more than 3,300 meters, has forced Catania Airport to suspend flights again and again, with roughly 1,350 flights canceled in the past week alone. Hundreds of travelers are stranded right in the middle of Ferragosto, the holiday when millions of Italians flood toward the coast. Here's the part almost. Nobody's talking about this isn't just Etna doing what Etna always does. Officials are calling this the volcano's longest sustained aviation emergency in more than 2 decades. No guessing, no dramatizing, just the facts, the science, and the real stakes. Let's get into it. The eruption, Europe's biggest volcano, unusually persistent. Mount Etna sits on Sicily's eastern coast, rising 3,124 meters directly above the city of Catania, and it's one of the most active volcanoes on the planet, erupting on average around 200 times a year. Most of those events cause only minor, brief disruptions. This one has been different. The current eruptive phase intensified in early August, with activity centered on vents around 2,750 and 2,360 meters, feeding extensive lava flows and, critically for air travel, sustained ash emissions. Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, INGV, has kept its volcano observatory notice for aviation at red, the highest possible aviation alert color for an extended stretch, something that hasn't happened at this length in years. The airport chaos, Catania, shuts down again and again. Catania Fontanarossa Airport, located just 30 kilometers south of Etna's summit and serving around 10 million passengers a year, has borne the brunt of the disruption. The airport, first closed on August 7th as ash entered the airspace, briefly reopened on August 9th once the alert was downgraded, then closed again days later as Etna's activity picked back up. The numbers here are significant. Airport operator SAC reported that roughly 400 departures were canceled between August 8th and 11th alone, with 52 more scrapped on the 12th. Counting canceled arrivals as well, total flight losses climbed toward 700, and separate reporting later put the combined week's toll at closer to 1,350 affected flights. More than 250 flights were diverted to other airports, mainly Palermo, Comiso, and Trapani in Sicily, with some redirected as far as Rome and Lamezia Terme on the mainland. As of the most recent updates, SAC said arrivals and departures would remain suspended until at least 2 a.m. on Saturday, August 15th, right through the Ferragosto holiday itself. Ferragosto, observed on August 15th, is arguably the single most significant travel date on the Italian summer calendar, a national holiday when huge numbers of people head to the coast and mountains and cities empty out. Sicily, with its beaches, hiking, and food, is one of Europe's most popular island destinations for exactly this kind of trip. Ryanair, EasyJet, ITA Airways, and Wizz Air, Catania's biggest operators, have absorbed most of the cancellations, leaving travelers scrambling for alternatives. Trenitalia, Italy's national rail operator, added 6 extra trains along the Palermo-Messina-Catania route specifically to help ease the pressure from stranded air passengers. Catania's mayor, Enrico Trentino, has publicly called for more resilient infrastructure, while Italy's Federation of Travel Agencies and Tour Operators has called for a dedicated task force and a formal review of how airlines have handled the wave of cancellations and passenger support. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had a trip disrupted by a volcanic eruption or other natural event? If you want more fact-checked breakdowns of disasters as they unfold, subscribe to the channel, it's free, and hitting like genuinely helps this reach more people. And let's push for 5,000 likes on this one. It's a reasonable question. Why does ash, something that looks a lot like fine dust or smoke from a distance, shut down an entire airport? Boris Benka, a researcher at INGV's Etna Observatory, explained it plainly. Volcanic ash can be sucked directly into jet engines, where it can melt inside the extremely hot combustion chamber and then resolidify on turbine components, effectively clogging the engine and causing it to lose power or stall entirely mid-flight. Unlike ordinary dust, volcanic ash is made of tiny fragments of pulverized rock and glass, extremely hard and abrasive, capable of scratching cockpit windows, damaging sensors, and contaminating fuel and cooling systems even in relatively low concentrations. Because ash clouds are also difficult to detect visually, especially at night or mixed into regular cloud cover, aviation authorities treat any confirmed ash presence in a flight path as an automatic no-fly condition, rather than something pilots can simply navigate around. That's precisely why officials describe this as one of the most cautious, zero-tolerance hazards in commercial aviation. Airport authorities say the situation is being reassessed continuously, with the current suspension extending through at least Saturday afternoon, though further extensions remain possible depending on Etna's ongoing activity and wind direction. which determines exactly where the ash cloud drifts. INGV continues monitoring the eruption's vents for any sign of the activity easing. Travel industry groups are expected to push forward with calls for a coordinated response framework, given how frequently Etna's activity has now disrupted Catania's operations across the past several summers. Etna has been erupting in one form or another for tens of thousands of years, long enough that people in Catania have learned to build their lives in its shadow without a second thought. What's different about this particular week isn't the volcano suddenly becoming more dangerous. It's the sheer duration of the disruption landing directly on top of the 1 week of the year when the fewest people can afford for their plans to fall apart. For the hundreds of travelers still watching departure boards in Catania, Etna is a reminder that even Europe's most familiar natural landmarks can still bring a modern travel system to a standstill simply by doing what it's always done, just a little longer than usual. Subscribe so you don't miss the next update on this story. Leave that comment below. Have you ever had a trip disrupted by a volcanic eruption or other natural event? 5,000 likes on this one. Let's go. See you in the next one.